All right, everybody, welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. It's actually the day before the hurricane is going to get to us. So, yeah, we're here working because it's not too crazy out today yet. It's about 1 o'clock. You can see the trees blowing a little bit. But that's your weather update for today. Figured we'd get back on Spencer's car today because CJ has been working on a bunch of tubes for it. And I'm gonna go weld them all in. All right, so aside from the weather, let's show you what all we've got going on in the rest of the shop. All right, so in the shop, yeah, the cutlass, yeah, it's still there. It's coming. I know I promised we'd be working on it by now. I'm sorry. But I had some issues with some parts with the engine. If you guys didn't know, it's gonna be an Oldsmobile engine and almost everything is one-off. The valve lengths, valve material, like titanium valves and Inconel valves have been extremely hard to get. And at least the way I understand it, the more common valves, like say for your standard big block Chevrolet, small block Chevrolet, LS, Fords, those are being made before my custom one-off valves. So it's kind of a hold up with the engine, and I haven't been too thrilled to just make a big mess of the car when I don't have an engine to go in it, even though I know I should be. But also we've got a shop full of other stuff, which I will show you now. But come December, we're going to definitely be digging into this by then, because we've got a race to make next year and I want to get there with a car that runs. So in the shop, still got the lawn dart. Dick's working on mounting the EGTs, which yeah, I'll show you a little bit of that.
Got one already in over there.
Got one already drilled. Oh, there they are. So we get these plates from Mad Racing Products. I like to use them in every build we do because they just plug right in. Makes it nice and easy for giving you a secure place on the firewall to just plug them in instead of them flopping around on the, like in the harness, individually in the harness. So got the TBM set up, and we ended up CNCing a bracket with our arc droid. And that's something we may actually sell. So if you have TBM brakes and you have a cherry sensor like this, we've made a nifty little bracket. Let's see if we can actually show it. So, does that show it right there? Maybe? You can kind of see where it, the aluminum bracket right there. Might be too close to even see it. Yeah, no, it kind of shows up on the screen. So it bolts under the brackets, or the bolts to hold the caliper on. This is their, you know, their small 2-piston caliper for the fronts, and then the sensor fits right between the bracket. No cutting, no drilling. There you can see a little better. And we've made it to where it hits kind of the edge of the bolt, so that it sees those bolts kind of like teeth on a reluctor wheel. I guess we could plug into the ECU at some point and fling it and see what it does.
Yep. I brought my laptop so we can do that later on maybe.
Sweet. Sounds like a plan there. Eddie's working on Grant's Corvette. Another CNC project with the arc droid. We made this little bracket, and that bolts to these slots all match the holes in the factory column, which I would assume he's got somewhere out here. What do you do with the bracket, the column?
I don't know. You need to show that thing off. I think it's cool.
Yeah, the bracket. Oh, it's right there on the floor. I'm tripping on it. So we tapped the back of these factory holes, and if you see, those holes aren't square with each other. And the idea is to retain the tilt mechanism, but also give some adjustability, which we did 1 inch of adjustability so that they can tailor the steering wheel height to something that they like. I like adjustability. So it's not just going to be hanging down like that. We'll do some other bracing, and that may not be where it ends up. Like Grant and Chuck are going to come by probably later today to test fit that. and then we'll be moving forward with that. That's a piece for Spencer's car, which you'll see going in just a little bit. And Drew's working on, actually, you know what? That was this Viper's first win.
You're correct.
We've won we've won several races with the red car. Like, what have we won? Like 14, 15 races with the red car?
I believe that Watkins Glen win was win number 14, which actually makes Lee the most winning TA3 SGT winning driver ever in the history of Trans Am.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So as you can see, we're getting it ready, and transmission on the floor. Kind of a weird situation that we ended up with 2 different geared transmissions, and the trans that came out of the car worked really good in the rain, but it's not very fast on a dry track. The gear ratios are really tight together, and if we try to downshift a second, it didn't have the dig out of the corners that this transmission is going to have. So we're sticking it back in. We found that the throwout bearing was wounded, so replacing that with another one. I mean, I wouldn't call it junk. It survived the race.
I mean,
it's a little, it's a,
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah.
that's not good.
That's not good.
No.
Hey, that's a nice shirt you got there.
Yeah, I like your shirt too.
I got the same shirt on.
Hey, look at this.
All right, so if you guys are wondering, the new shirts are in. They actually came in about 4 days earlier than we were expecting, and then we've got a hurricane. But good news if you ordered one, because a lot of them went out yesterday with UPS and with the mail. So you'll be getting those sooner than we were expecting. We weren't expecting to be shipping them until Monday or Tuesday, but today is Wednesday. So they're already on their way to you, including the stickers if you ordered a sticker. So available at winwithksr.com. And while you're here, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I haven't said that in a while. Check your subscription, because I've had a few people say that they weren't subscribed anymore, and then actually my girlfriend Crystal stopped getting notifications. So check that you've got the notification bell clicked to see exactly when we release a new video. Anyways, what else are we doing to this thing? Oh, adding a transmission cooler.
Transmission cooler, which means remounting the diff cooler.
Yeah, which that was a terrible place for the diff cooler.
Yeah, it makes no
Really?
sense to have to pump it all the way, like suck it all the way forward.
Well, I mean, it's when it's on the brakes, it would have been feeding the cooler, I guess.
Brakes.
But
we don't use brakes.
we do use brakes.
No, we go fast.
I mean, we have a giant brake kit to put on this thing, which we need to try and do too, but probably not for the next race.
Probably not.
So this is where the diff pump was mounted, but we are making this the transmission pump, and we draw fluid out of the drain hole, go through here, go through a cooler that's going to be mounted in the back of the car. So I've got to go find some coolers that are going to fit in here, and then we also have to do some fans.
Something like that.
Yep, that one there, and then one over here, which you're going to have to slide that one as far.
Yeah, I could go. I mean, theoretically, I could go into the wheel well, but
Yeah, I don't think we want to do that.
That's
Unless we
probably
cut
about
some
right.
venting in the wheel well. Like we could do that, but
yeah, maybe.
we've got to work out some fans to draw air through there, like the little, probably like a brake duct fan, like what NASCAR uses at the front of the car. That's what the red car has to draw air through it. So we noticed that the transmission fluid basically after every race is just black. And the diff fluid still looks nice. Now in the red car, both fluids look nice after each race, because we do dump the fluids after each race. It's cheap insurance to keep them properly lubricated. But this one, we've now got some plumbing to do. I think we can take this sensor out too, since we're using just a switch.
Yep.
So take that, that's one less thing that could possibly fall out and leak.
Yep.
We've got a new outer hub we've got to measure for, because we've got aftermarket axles for this thing. But like all race cars, nothing out of the box fits, because we run a relocated shock. Normally this lower bolt is over into here, and you can kind of see maybe that the shock is out closer to the outer CV joint, and aftermarket axles didn't work. So we had to modify some things. Is that working a little better? Maybe you can
Say, maybe if I come up in here.
Hey, there we go. Now I just gotta watch the shadow. Yeah, so the aftermarket axle. We've got a flange that we're gonna, actually it's a whole complete axle, but the flange was even thicker than this and wider in diameter, so it's causing a problem. So we got to get that fixed. Golly, that's bright.
I know. Trying to get the lighting right, sir.
Thanks.
Thanks, Milwaukee.
That light does work pretty well. So I've got some welding to do on Spencer's car. CJ's working on, you can see he's got the rear hoop in. We've got a bar there. We've got some bars there. I've got to weld the last mount for the mid plate, which that is not for the LS motor plate or mid plate, because you can see that it doesn't go up. But if we ever switch to another engine, we'll put a larger mid plate in there that connects all 5 points to the chassis. Just trying to really go overboard for the next engine, and I feel like the stiffer we can make the car now, the more it'll translate into more consistent runs, because the shock adjustments will be what's actually controlling the suspension rather than the twisting of the car and all that stuff. But been doing lots of work back here. We're gonna have this bar made shortly. Obviously we got to weld in that bar, we got to weld in these diagonals here, and then CJ's working on like that bar that's over there. That's the bar that the shock mounts will be threaded into. So just a lot of bars about to go into this thing, and I wanted to have it on video. So I'm gonna jump into this thing, get some stuff welded in, and then we'll talk to you here in a little bit. All right, well, we're gonna get started on this extra mid plate mount to begin with. And you'll notice that I kind of just put a tack on each side of it first, because what I'm trying to do is lock the piece in and keep it from moving. Because if I just start welding on one side of it, a lot of times the material will pull towards where the heat input is, and if it moves there, then it kind of throws everything out of whack. One thing that I think is very important when it comes to TIG welding is that you're comfortable in your welding position, and you can move and weld the area that you need to get welded, which when it comes to roll cage welding, you're gonna see that I end up moving around a ton to get the best angle that I can get on keeping my torch head at the right angle to the area that I'm welding. So you always want to keep your tungsten pointed directly at the area that you're welding. You don't want to be pointed at a big angle. Like as straight as possible as you can get on it is the better way to do it. So you can see I'm actually kind of touching up the fitment on the lower diagonal on the passenger side here. Going to start tack welding it in. Then I weld a little in one spot, weld a little on the other end of the tube, move over to the other side, send a text, get back at it. And I actually had to take a phone call there, but you see me move around a little bit and end up moving around all over the car to kind of keep spreading the heat around. Like I said, that keeps everything, keeps it from getting the weld super hot, which I think is a good thing, especially when you're, welding a lot, but end up hanging over the bars to get all these welds done. And I try to, like, once I get these bars tacked in on each side of the tube, when I start actually welding the bar, I try to make a complete circle with the weld. Like I don't end up going back and starting in two different spots. So I'll get the two tacks and then come back to the first tack, and then I start welding. And, I might only weld a half an inch or an inch at a time, but the same place that I stop is the same place that I start back again, so that the weld, beads all look real nice going around the tube and consistent. And, it's just one of the little things that I like to do to, I think, gives our fit and finish a little better look than if I were to move around and stop and start all over the place. So now that we've got the roof supported with the car, there's actually some tabs up at the top. You can see CJ cutting out the those body supports, and then now we're going to actually run some roll cage tubing right through that area, and that's going to get us set up to finish the back half of this car. So pretty exciting to get all the tube work in back here. We'll get the tubs in before too much longer, and we will be moving right along with this thing to get it to sick week. All right, well, we didn't get quite as much done as we thought we were going to today, but did get that piece welded in down there. Got the diagonals welded in. CJ got started on the pieces that are going to connect from the main hoop down to the rear halo. And then you got the back body stays cut out, which now that it tweaks a little bit. But the plan is to have the bars that come off back here, they'll have some tabs that'll just through bolt. Probably won't use those holes, but we'll see where the trunk hinges are going to go, or even if we're going to use the trunk hinges. Don't know yet. I don't remember if we ordered a fiberglass trunk for the thing or not. We do have a bunch of fiberglass parts coming in for the car. Hood, fenders, nose piece, all that good stuff. And I think possibly a trunk and a dash, but I'll see when that shows up. So jump back on this tomorrow, depending on the weather. Depends on how crazy the hurricane stuff gets here. Drew's been over here staring at the Viper all day.
Making messes. That's all I've done all day.
Making messes. No, just kidding. He got the slave cylinder set up for the clutch, which of course, similar slave cylinders, but needed different spacing. The slave cylinder that we put in the car was from the red car, and it needed a different spacing to work with this clutch, so had to machine a spacer, but got all that taken care of. Transmission back in. See the cooler or the pump mounted. We're going to change this to a Deutsch connector, and we did a bunch of measuring back here to see about fitting 2 coolers as well as fans that will draw the air out of the back of the car. So I think we're going to take out the battery box here because that just looks thick and heavy. Same with this. I don't know what, like, this isn't race car. Like, it's super heavy and very poorly done, so we'll probably fix that. Same with this tow hook over on this side. You know, at this level of a professional, let's call it professional race car, you go searching for ounces, and if you're working on something and you can cut a couple ounces out of the car, you go ahead and do it, because eventually over time those ounces add up to a lighter and lighter and lighter race car. Even though today we're actually adding weight back, or will be with this project, when it comes to the, you know, the coolers and the fans, the extra pump. So we need to figure out how to get some more weight back out of this thing. And by moving the battery forward, which it already has a little tiny Braille battery in the car, but if we move that forward, we also lose the weight of the battery cables through the entire chassis, so that's good. You know, just chipping away at losing weight in this thing. And when we do something like this, we try and do everything as far as all of the weight reduction right from step 1. So you can see, you know, we cut off all the extra weight that we possibly can, even cut off like the top of the fender lip. Of course, we did that more for clearance because we know the headers are going to come out here and the turbos are probably going right in here. Got some playing around to do with that. But going to start mounting the seats in it, or at least mounting this seat in it. Once we get, I think Spencer's coming up next week and going to sit in the car so we can actually fit the seat. And then we'll get the rest of the funny car cage wrapped up around him. So, actually, let's show you what Eddie got done on the Corvette today. Saw the steering column mount. Started fitting the front window. And you can see we're really trying to get this to fit really tight. This is going to be pressed up against the hood, so there is no chance for the air to turn in. The back of the hood is actually sealed off right here, so this little cowl looking thing is pointless. This is just some cheap wannabe carbon fiber hood. Like, it might have a layer of carbon on it, but it's extremely heavy and has fiberglass underneath it, and not a great hood for actual race car. But like I said, car meet carbon.
Yeah, you know, like the local Lowe's parking lot.
Oh, car meet carbon.
Yeah, car meet.
Oh, I thought you said car meet carbon.
Yeah, when you're at the car meet, it looks like carbon. That's all that matters.
That's true. This probably eBay, Amazon,
Probably.
Wish.
No, it actually fits. It's not Wish. If it was Wish, it'd be like half size for an RC Corvette.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear my kids. All right, well, it's time for me to get home, see what this hurricane does to us, or hopefully doesn't do to us. Looking like it's probably gonna be kind of rowdy down in South Florida where Garrett's at, but or South Central, I don't know what that is down there. Bradenton, Fort Myers area, looking like it's gonna take a direct hit, but we'll know more about that tomorrow, and then we'll decide if we're gonna come into work. So, appreciate everybody watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys in the next one.